Hello my people on the internet, this is Logic from Logic Camp. So today we want to talk about HTML and CSS. So what is HTML? So let's start from there. So I believe that you clicking on this link, you already have the idea. Oh, I want to learn HTML, I want to learn web design, I want to learn this, I want to learn that. So HTML, so let me fire up my notepad. So I'll come to formats, fonts, then scroll down from here. I'll make it 28 so it can be as big as this. Okay, so HTML, so it simply means hypertext markup language. So the question here is, markup language, is it a programming language? Is HTML a programming language? Of course not. It's not a programming language. It is just a markup language to draw the structure of a web page. So when you need to build website, you need to write a web document, we use HTML. Let me show you something real quick. So if I open my browser, if I go to google.com, so this is google.com. If I right click, so if I open page source, okay, so we have the source code to Google websites. So on the home page at the top here, you can see that we have doc type. Let me zoom that. So you can see that we have doc type HTML. So anything that live on the server or anything that calls a website, we use HTML for the structure. How do we write HTML code? So we use something that we call text editor, or say code editor. Let me fire up my notepad again. So text editors, we have different types of text editors. To list out 3 to 5 right now, then we're going to test all this. So the first one that I'm going to recommend for you if you are just starting is Notepad. Okay, so this Notepad, this thing I'm using right here, you can use it to write code. So Notepad, then Sublime Texts, Notepad++, then my favorites, VS Code, that is Visual Studio Code, let's say brackets again. Okay, so we have these 5 text editors to write HTML. So we are going to start by using Notepad. So if you are on Windows, you just have to click, you just have to press the window key, then R, or you click on start, then you search for Notepad. Alright, so this is my Notepad. So this is my Notepad right here. Okay, so we want to start by using Notepad. Then we are going to go Sublime, go Notepad++. You don't have to do all this. But I just want you guys to have the idea of how all this thing works. So the main point here is to write HTML code. That is the main point. So now let me move to HTML structure. So what is the structure of HTML? So if you can remember, on the Google source code, I show you the page source. So we have doc type HTML. So I'm going to start from there. I'm going to say doc type. I'm going to type HTML. Then I have to open HTML. So don't worry about this. If you can follow along, no problem. If you can't, no issues. So I will just explain all this later. So now this is the structure. of HTML. My bad, forgot title here. Title. Okay, so if you look at this structure, so I'm going to space this in 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3. So I'm going to space 1 2 1 2. Okay, sorry about that. One again. So what we have right here is the structure of HTML. So you might not really understand this, no problem. So let me type, this is the title. Okay, so inside my body, let me type, this is the contents. So before I save this, so if you can do this, you can quickly type this. You can pause the video, type it, then let's continue. So before I save this, I'll go to my desktop. So if you visit my desktop, so this is what I have there. I have no files on my desktop. So I'll click on File Explorer, then Desktop. So this is the same thing as the desktop that you're going to see here. So this is the same thing. So what I'll do is I'll create a folder for this tutorial. I'll call it HTML tutorial. So if you do this, if you go to your desktop, you see this folder here. So I'll go to my notepad, I'll click File, I'll click Save. Then from here, I will navigate to desktop, then HTML tutorial. So that is, I'm inside this folder now. So then I will name this my first page.html. So what is this extension.html? So if you can remember, in your Word documents, your image file, your video files, in video you have .mp4 or mkv or any sort of video type. In image you have .jpg or .png. In documents you have .doc or .docx. So these are the extension that tells your computer that this files is this type of file. So this is a document file, that is .coc. This is an image file, that is .jpg, .jpeg, .png. But now .html, it stands for HTML file. So I've saved this. I will open this HTML tutorial. So this is my file now. So I will open it in my browser. Right click, open with. Then I'm using Opera Mini. Sorry, I'm using Opera. Okay, so now what I have here, let me zoom this out. So I have, this is the contents. Then if you check this up here, I have, this is the title. So what this is telling us is that whatever you put inside this title is what is going to show at the title bar of the tab. So you can see that on Google now, we have Google at the top here. If you open Google websites on your PC, so we have Google here. Here we have, this is the title. So if you go back to Google source code, you say page source. So if I press Ctrl F, that is to find. Can you see find in page right here? Can you see where my mouse is? Find in page. So if I type title, not here. This is because they are using some kind of framework. That is why we are seeing this. So let me search for head rather. Okay, so we have the head here. So we should have the title somewhere, but if we don't see it, let me just search for Google. Oh my god, this is way too much. it's like you're going to leave this, but I just want you guys to know that the title is what you're going to see at the top of the code, at the top of the browser here. So that is the title. So but if you can do it, if you can look for the title, you can find where they wrote this Google. Yeah, cool. So this is the content and this is the title. So basically, if you are writing any project in HTML, this is how you are going to start any type of project. Maybe you are working on e-commerce websites, you are working on blog, you are working on a social media platform. This is how you are going to start. So you will have the document declaration, then the opening tag. We call this opening tag. Why this is closing tag? So if you want to close, you use this. So you say open. So let me say open, then you say close. So if you want to close this open, you use this. So that is this to close the open. So let's continue. So what is this doc type? So don't forget, we are still on the HTML structure. So we are still on the HTML structure. So we have the doc type HTML. So this is telling the browser that we are writing HTML5. So we have some other types of HTML. I mean the obsolete versions, that is like XHTML, then the normal HTML. So they are much like that, but that is not part of the scope of this tutorial, so I'm not going to go there. So basically it starts with doc type HTML, then after that you open this parent tag HTML, so which will contain all your code, the title, the body and everything. So now after the HTML, so inside the opening and closing HTML tag, you open the head. So this means that the head is a child to this HTML, so because it's inside it. So after that we'll have the body. I'm using space so it will be indented. So we have the body. So inside the body, this is where you have everything that shows inside your browser, everything that you see inside the browser. So don't let us do that yet. So I'll come back here. So this is where you see everything that lives at the bar here, at the top here, all your page informations. So it's not only title that we have here, we have some other contents too, but for now we are going to go with just title. So now if I change, so here, so if I say title, so inside the head now we have a child title. If I change the title from, I don't know what we put before, so if I change it to new title, okay, so inside the body, if I change this to new body, so that means we have new content inside our document now. Then we have new head inside our document, new title inside our document. So if I go to file and save, so from here, this is my browser. If I refresh, it's this reload, you can see that we have new title and new body. So if you have any question concerning this section, you can just put the comment below, so I'm going to attend to the comments. Thank you very much. So now let's move down to other text editor before we move to HTML headline and paragraphs. So I'll open in my browser, I'll go to download Sublime text. So this is so if you still have this, we said we have Sublime text. So this is it. I'm going to download it. So I won't be going through all the text editors again because of time. So I'm on Windows, but I'm using 64 bits. So if you don't have to check this your system architecture, we call it system architecture. So just open your file explorer, but I don't want to override that. I will right click, then file explorer. I'll go to this PC, then I will right click here, then I say properties. So under properties, you can see system type 64 bits. So if you have the same, so you can go ahead and download this. If you don't, download this. So I'll click this. So this is going to download. Let me save that into my download folder. Okay, complete. So I'll double click to open. So of course, yes. So I'll accept that, then I'll install this text editor. So we have another text editor now. So I'll go to stats, then or apps. I'm on Windows 10. So Sublime Text 3. So if you have done that, you see this. So I'll open Sublime Text 3. Okay, so we have this. No. So I'm going to copy everything that I have here inside my notepad. I will right click. I will select all, or you press Ctrl A, then right click, copy. Then this is my Sublime text. I'm going to paste that. Okay, so we have this. So you can see that there's a bit different. So let me expand this and let me zoom this out. Okay, so you can see that it's a bit different. This is telling us that, like, I mean the color, the tint color. You can see that. So this is telling you that these are tags, while these are contents. So yeah, I think this is cool. If you want us to proceed with this Sublime text, just put a comment down below. So I'll click save, then go to my desktop, HTML tutorial. I'll say my second page.html. So this is automatically giving us the file type. So I'll save that. So we have the second page. So if I right click now, I'll say open in browser. So you can see that we are promoting. So open in browser. So this is telling me to choose the browser that I want to use, of course, Opera. And okay, so we have new body. Let me zoom that out. So we have new body, then we have new title inside my second page.html. So you can see the advancements from the notepad to Sublime text, but we still have the same result. So it doesn't matter the text editor that you are using. So the problem is we want to achieve this goal, this result. So let's go back to Opera Mini. Here I will go, let's check what else do we have. So I'm not going to do this. I'll just go Visual Studio Code, VS Code. So VS Code. So download, enter. So code.visualstudio.com. So if I click that, it's going to take me to where I will download Visual Studio Code. So this is telling me to choose my operating system. So if I'm on Linux, I'm going to download this. If I'm on Mac, I'll download this, but this is Windows. So I'll click on Windows download. So thank you for downloading Visual Studio Code. I'll save that. So I already have Visual Studio installed on my system. So that means I don't need to install this, but I just want to install it so we'll know what we're doing. So I'm going to pause the recording and come back when this is done. So we are here. So I'm going to double click this to install. So I still want to install again. Of course, I have it on my system. So I'll say I accept. Of course, I have to accept that. So next, so I'll create desktop. So make sure you check all this. So you don't actually need this. Make sure you check all this. So make sure they are checked like this. So I'll click next to install. So this is going to override my stuff. Oh my god. Okay, I'll do it for you guys. Okay, this is going to override my stuff. No problem. So it's loading. So while this is going, let's close all this. Let's close this. Let's close this. Okay, so we're going to come back. So launch Visual Studio Code. So I have to check this and finish. So it's going to open automatically for me. So, but if you forgot to do that, when you click on Start, you want to search for Visual Studio Code. Can you see? Then you can open. Click to open. So we're good. So we are here now. So I'm going to create new file. Okay, so new file. So I'll copy the same thing we have there. I'll paste it here. So the same way we did. So I'll zoom that, Control plus equals to. So I have this now. So if I go to File and Save, so I'm going to save this inside the same folder. This same folder. So I'll make it my third page .html. Then I'm going to save. Okay, so now we have the things, the color and everything, and this looks better to me. So I've saved that. I can right click again. So I don't have open in browser here. I think Sublime is cool. So I'll go to the file, my top page. So this is my top page. I'll right click, then Opera Mini. So this is new body and new title. So we have the same result. So it doesn't matter the code editor that you're using. Alright guys, so let's move on. Let's move on to HTML tags. So I will close this. You can continue with whatever you like, but I'm just going to continue with Notepad. I'm just going to continue with Notepad. It's Notepad. So let's do Sublime. Let's do Sublime. I know you guys would love Sublime. So let's say Sublime. Open. Okay, so we have this now. Okay, so what we are doing now is the paragraph tag. Sorry, let me say HTML tags. HTML tags. Let's make it camel case. HTML tags. So let's talk about the paragraph tag. So if I save this, this is my second page. If I save this, open in browser. So we are going to have HTML tags, then paragraph tags. So what is paragraph tags? So when you're writing your notes, so let's take it this way. When you're writing your notes, probably in school, or you have to take something down, you know, you have to write something. So that is just paragraph, just to write something, just to output message. So how do we go about our paragraph tag? So that is the P tag. We call it P tag. So if you can remember, I said open, then close. So now if you say P, close the P, then close. So we have the paragraph tag now. So let me delete this open. That is just an example. It is not part of HTML tags. So paragraph, let's say this is paragraph 1. So if I have another P tag, let's say this is paragraph 2. So if I save that, remember you have to save. If I save that, then open in browser. So we have this is paragraph 1 and this is paragraph 2. So we are writing notes, so take notes. So we are writing something. So if I go to stuff like Wikipedia, perfect. I think it's Wikipedia. Okay, so you see all this, they are paragraphs because we write something. So if I inspect that, so we have this span tag, we have this. So this is paragraph actually, but this is Google search. Their own thing is kind of so, but we can use paragraph tag to do this. So, let me say if I copy this like this, okay, yeah, this is cool. So if I copy this like this, this is here, then I paste it. Okay, so if I save that, then if I go back to my browser, I can close this now, refresh. Okay, so we have this. So let me take that down. So we have this. So this is paragraph, this is paragraph. Okay, so now when you're taking notes or when you're reading news, probably newspaper or on a blog or in Facebook, there's something we call headlines. News headline. Probably you're doing an assignment. Let's say Wikipedia. Let's go Wikipedia again. Let's say I'm in Nigeria. Let's say Nigeria. So we should have a result from Wikipedia, of course. Okay, so this, you can see that the font size and everything is different from this. So we can call that headline. So we have another headline, and yeah, I'm sure you have this experience. You've seen this before. When you are reading newspaper or you are writing notes, you want to make headings. That is headline. So in HTML, how do we do headlines? So let me do this. HTML headline, or let's call it headings because they are family of 6. So let me type H1. So somebody might be like, I think headline should be headline, then headline. There's nothing like headline tag in HTML. So HTML H1 now. Let me say my first web page. So this is my first web page. So let me change the content of this paragraph. Let me change it to this is the content inside the paragraph tag. Okay, so let's save that. Then we go back to the browser, then refresh. Okay, so we have, so now you can see that the size, the thickness, the boldness, you can see it now. So my first web page, then this is just paragraph. So that is how we make headings in HTML. So let's list out all the headlines that we have. So because somebody would love to ask me that this is H1, so what about H2? What about H0, H3, H4, H5, H7, H9, H20? But fortunately we only have from H1 to H6. So if I do this, if I say headline 1, if I say headline 2, so headline 3, headline 4, sorry about that, headline 4. So if I say headline 5 now, if I say headline 6, okay, So HTML headings, they are just from 1 to 6. So let me clear this, my first web page. Let me clear that. So if I save this, so if I refresh, so you can see the size of headline 1, then reduction, reduction. So it just depends on the usage of whatever you're working on. So headline 1, headline 2, of course I use headline 3 most. You see, like, you say medium, like the medium size, but you can always increase the font size. You can, you can format it, you can style it. So but for paragraph, it's just alone or melon. So we have this. So let's change the content of this h1 to HTML tags. So let me save that. Okay, so that will be all on headings and paragraphs. So somebody will ask me, how do I apply colors to all this? Now let's look at HTML styles. So styling is in HTML is just like in Microsoft Word, when you need to apply color to something, or you need to bold something, like that. So we call styling in HTML, we call it attributes. So we call it attributes. So if I want to apply styles, I'll say style. So you can see that we have attr. This means attributes. So that means this style is an attribute in HTML. So if I say style, that means I have to say equals to, then whatever I want to write, whatever styling I want to give this h1, I will put it inside this, so that this open and close. So inside this place now, so I can now say something like color. You can see that we have property. So this attribute will take in property and then value of the property. So this property color, then to specify the value, I have to put this this column. Then I'm going to set the color to red. So if I save this, now you can see that we have red color. Perfect. So let's look at some other properties that we have. So if I need to concatenate, sorry about it. If I need to add another property to this, let's say underline, like I want to decorate this, I want it to have underline. I can't do this. I can't say another style again, then saying text alignment. I cannot do that. So I have to continue from this. So in order to terminate this, so that means I have to terminate this property. So this is the property and this is the value. So I have to terminate it using semicolon. Then I can start another one. So I can now say something like text align. I cannot make it center. So this is the property, then this is the value for this property. So this is another property and this is the value. So we have two properties now. So if I save this, so this is going to move to the center. So now you can see that we have this HTML all caps, but for the tags we have it in sentence form. Only the T is cap. So if I come down here, if I terminate this again, I said text transform. So I want to transform this. And I say uppercase. So we have this uppercase now. So I'll come to file. I'm going to make the save. I save that. Then come back. Then refresh. So we have everything all caps. Okay, so this is looking cool. So, and again, I can say something like, let me say font size. So I want to change the font size from the normal font size. I want to make it something like 100 pixels. So this px, don't worry about that yet. So this is some kind of measurements that we use in designs, not only web design, in designs. So don't worry about it yet. So this is 100 pixels. Wow, this is big. Okay, so HTML tags. So I think we can modify this by changing this to HTML tutorial logic camp. Okay, cool. Then we have another h1 tag. So instead of doing this every time, so you can just say h1, then you press your tab key. So if you check at the top of cap lock, we have tab. So you press the tab, press the tab. Okay, so that is autocomplete. So I say HTML tags now. So I will save that, go back to my browser and refresh. So HTML tutorial logic camp, then HTML tags, and we have this. So you can apply any type of styling, anything that you want, anything that you can think of, anything. So if I want to do, you can see that I've terminated this. So let me make the font size come down to 24 pixels, so it won't take the whole spaces. So we have this now. So if I want to add spacing at the top here, like before this HTML tutorial, I want it to come down a bit. So I can add margin. I can say margin top. So that is the margin at the top. So I can say something like 10 pixels again. So let's go pixels for now. So 10 pixels. If I refresh, nothing happened. What's going on? Okay, so margin top, let me make it 30 pixels. So I've saved that using Ctrl S. Go back to my browser. Okay, so you can see that we have some spacing now. So for this h1 tag for HTML tags, if I go back to the code, so if I say style, if I say margin left, if I set margin left for this, if I set it to 40 pixels, so if I refresh the code, you can see that we have some spacing here. So that is margin. So you can add margin to this. So it just depends on what you are doing. So on Google website, you can see that we have all this at the center. So that is text align center. So we have this a bit spaced from left. So let's just say this is like 10 pixels or so. Then the color, we can say B9, I don't know. So if we inspect, so this inspect, you can see any code, any source, any website source code, you can see it. So for this Nigeria now, this is the color RGBA 0054. You can see that color. So if I copy that, copy. So let me close it. So if I go back to my code, if I take this red out with this, if I paste what we copied, we have color RGBA. So this is some color code. So of course I have to terminate this by putting semicolon. So we have that. So if I refresh, you can see that we have the same color now. So that is a bit in HTML styling. So by the time we are going, we'll be learning some other things on styling HTML tags or elements. So the next thing that we are going to look at is comments. So how to comment something in HTML. So if I do this, so this means that the comment starts from here. This is the opening tag for the comment. This is the closing tag. So it means that welcome to logic camp. So this means that whatever I put in between this open and close, it is not going to show on the web page. So if I go back to the web page and refresh, you can see that nothing come up. But if I right click and go to page source, we have it comment. So we have it here. So this is, so we use comment to pass in information to other developers like us, probably that is going to check our code later in the future, or for ourselves. You know, I can do something here. I can say first headline. So I know that this is the first headline now. So if I come here, I can make another comment. I can say second headline. So whenever I'm coming back to this code, I'll know that, okay, this is the first headline, this is the second headline. So although this might not make sense to you right now, but as we are going, we'll be exploring more of comments. So if I save this, of course, it's not going to come up. Not in short. Okay, so that is comments. So you open it, you put the message or the content, then you close it with this. So this is not like the regular open and close. So now if I go to Google, you can see that we have an image here, or an image that later links to video. Fine, that is good. So if I go to, let's use Facebook. So if I go to, that should bring my account. I don't want that to happen. So if I go to a website, if I go to any website like wikipedia.organization, that is .org, you can see that we have a logo here. I mean, let's say their logo, I don't know, like an image. So let's just say you want to put an image, you want to include image in your code, you want to add image to your code. So that we use the image tag. So we open the image tag, then we close it. But the image tag that I'm saying, it is not image, it is just img, and this is how we close img tag. So I don't know why it's like that, but it is self-closed. We call this self-closed. So now for image, now if I save this, Ctrl S to save, if I go to my code, if I refresh, of course nothing come up, because I have to specify where my image is. I have to specify that this is where the image is. You understand, like, okay, this is where my image is. So I mean the location of the image. So in order to do that, we use the source attribute. You can see that we have attribute again. So we use the source attribute. So now let's say on Google, let's look for HTML logo. So if I copy that, so this is HTML logo. Okay, so we have this now. I don't want to use this. No, I don't want that. Okay, this is beautiful. Let's use this. So if I right click now, if I say open image in new tab, so that means I will have the link to the image. This is the link to the image. It's a PNG image. So if I copy this link now, then inside my code, Sublime code, so inside this source, I can paste the link right here. So I can now save. So I've saved that. If I right click, so I should have the image here. So now let's change this to HTML image tag, but of course we are not going to use image. Let's remove the style. Let's say HTML img tag. So that is short for image. So I can refresh. Okay, so we have the image here. Okay, so how do we, like, I want the image to be small, this is way too big, I don't want the user to be stressing themselves, like when they visit my page. I don't want them to be stressing themselves scrolling down before they will see the content of the image. Doesn't make sense to me. So we can pass in another attribute, width. We call that width, and we set this to 100. So let's set it to 100. If I refresh, so we have a small image now. So 100. So you can see that we now have this. But let's take, for instance, I do something like this. So I tamper with the image link. You can see that we are seeing this thing. So sometimes when network fails, the image might not load like completely. So instead of seeing this, like you can't say that, you can't say what this is, like what is this, but we have something that can tell the user that, okay, this is what we were supposed to have here. So we call it the alt attributes. That is alternate text. So I can say our logo. So I can say our logo. Let's say HTML logo. So we have HTML logo here. So if I refresh that, you can see that instead of showing us this broken button, so we have HTML logo. So that is, if the image is not available, instead of seeing an error, we are going to see this message. Yeah, so this is very important. So let's delay this pixel bit. So refresh. So if the image is available, you won't be seeing the message. So that's on image tag. But at the same time, instead of using these attributes, I can use the style attributes. Then I can pass the property of width. Now, so we have another property now. This is one property, this is another one. So you have another property, width. Then this width, I can set it to 100 pixels. So we are just going to have the same result. So that is it. So let's change this to 300. Let's see what will happen. Of course, we both know what will happen. So this is it, a bigger image. So if I copy this image tag now, so it starts from here, ends here. Don't forget it is self-closed. Paste that. I make this 200. I have another one. Oh my god. So I make this 100. So if I go back to the code and refresh, you can see that this is the biggest, followed by this, and this is the smallest. Okay, so let's move on. So in some cases, you might need to output data. Like what I mean by data is probably you are working with list of employees. So I'm just going to leave this like this. I'm going to open new file. So we have new file. So I'll save it now. New file, sorry. So I'm going to save this. Save. Then I'll call it table.html. So we are working with table now. So you want to output data. Like let's look, for instance, table. Let's say Microsoft Word table. Okay, this is perfect. This is what I'm looking for. So if you are familiar with Microsoft Office Word, so probably you have seen this type of thing before. Like you want to write attendance, it's going to be in tabular form. Like a results board is going to be in tabular form. Report card is going to be in tabular form. So in tables, we call this the head of the table. You can see that this is supplying this. This is telling us that this is what we have here, keywords. Then SEO staff, we have this. SEO traffic, we have this. We have this. So this is a column, another column, another column, another column, another column, another column. This is a row, another row, another row, another row, another row. So in HTML, how do we work with table? So we've saved this as table.html. So let's draw our structure. Of course, if you don't know this yet, you can just copy from the previous code to this one. Something is going on there. Okay, so let's type. So after the doc type, then we'll have HTML. I don't want to use that shortcut, but if you can just go ahead and type HTML here and press the tab again. That is autocomplete. So sometimes you have to press it 2 times. So that is autocomplete. So it's going to give you the basic structure of the HTML. So let's do it manually. Let's say doc type HTML, then HTML, then inside HTML we are going to have 2 children, that is the head and the body, then inside the head we are going to have the title. So we have the title, let's say HTML table. So inside the body we are going to say we are going to like create an headline that says HTML table. So okay, sorry about that. So we have new file now. So I'm going to right click, open in browser. So I open in browser. So I open in browser, so we have HTML table now. Okay. So let's go back to the image. So I don't know if you guys can see this very well. Let me make that big. This is not going to come up. So let us open the image in new tab. Okay, this is cool. Yeah, cool. Okay, so we have the head of the table. So this is the head of the table head, rather. So in HTML, so let me make a comment here. So say HTML table starts here. So we have what we call the table tag. You can see that when I type table, this is telling me that it's a tag. So let me see. So we have the table now. So you can see that we said we have the table head and this should be the table body, of course. So I will have the table head, that is T head, short for table head, and I will have T body, short for table body. So inside the table head, I want to have a row, that is table row, that is TR. So I want to have a row, so let me space this so that we know what we are doing. So this rows contains all this. So you can see that this is a cell, this is another cell if you are familiar with Microsoft Excel. So this is another cell, another cell, another cell, another cell. So this one now, so since we are in the table head, we are going to say th, and that is keywords. Keyword. We're going to have another one, or let's just say employee ID. So I don't want us to keep going back there. So employee name. So we want to say some kind of position. employees position, then we want to say status. So probably in service or retired, that's what we are going to be putting there. So we have the table heading now. So if I save this, Ctrl S, and go back to my browser, refresh. I'm sorry about that. Let me just close this. Let me just close this and this one and this one. So if I refresh that, so you can see that we have this. So we have employee ID, employee name, position, and status. Okay, so we have 4 cells in our table heading. So inside the body, I want to have another row. So I want to have a row inside the body. So this row now, so of course we have 4 headings. So we'll need 4 data. So use table data. So that is TD. So the employee ID, let's say 1. Then the employee name, let's say Will Smith. Let's say Will Smith. So his status, let's say, is the I don't know. Let's call it the program officer. Let's call it program officer. So that is UK program officer. How UK does their thing. Okay. So let's say his status is in service. No, we're tired yet. So TD now. Okay, so this is an employee detail. That's for one employee. So if I go to the browser, I've saved that with Ctrl S. So I've refreshed. So this is the program officer, service ID is 1, Will Smith. Okay, so if I want to add another employee, I'll have another row. So let me just copy this row. I'll highlight this. If I click that and copy, okay. So I'll change this to 2. Then this I'll say Bill Gates. So let's say the marketing officer is the marketing officer, of course, the surface. So if I save that, then if I refresh, you can see that we have another person, another employee. So if I save that again, so if I have Jane Doe, the business analyst. No, what post is this? So he's retired. So if I go back to my browser, refresh, okay, there's a mistake here. We have an error here. So we have an error there. Okay, I didn't do this. So let's refresh again. So retired. Okay, so we have 3 employees now. So if you look at my table now, we don't have some border. We don't have any border here. There's nothing separates this row and this row and this row. So if I go back here, so if I had attributes star, I say border. Now for border, I'll set the width of the border 1 pixel. Then the type of the border that I want. So let me go solid first. Then the color of the border black. So if I refresh that, so you can see what we have here. Here you can see that the border is outer, like it's just like covering the table, but we want the border in each of the rows, I mean each cells. So instead of putting this here, I'm just going to cut it, move, cut. Then to each of these, I'm going to put it here. Of course, this can be stressful now, but there's a much better ways of doing this. So if I save that, this small thing, if I save that, so you can see that we have each cells like covered now. So you can just go ahead and do the rest. So that will be all on HTML table. So as we are going to be exploring more about tables. So what we just need to know on table is table will have head and body. So inside the head you put the headings. So and all of them, they are going to be covered in rows, in a row rather. So this row, this is the table head row. Then inside the row we have each headline, each head, we have it. Then inside the body, each record is going to be inside the row. So this row will capture this person's records. So this one, two, and this one, two, like that, and like that. So we are going to stop here on HTML tables. Okay guys, so let's move on to HTML lists. Of course, that is familiar. So I'm going to put new file and save that. I'll say lists.html. Okay, so I'm going to type HTML and press tab. So we have the structure. I'll say lists. So I'll go H1. I'll say HTML lists. Okay, so I will right click, open that in browser. Okay, so I'll close this, right? So HTML list. So list, you know, when you need to list out something like probably bullets or in a numbering format, probably you were asked to list out 10 countries. So let's go H3, 10 countries. Okay, let's say 5 countries in Africa. Okay, so now to list something in HTML, now we use the list tag. So for now we have 3 type of lists. We are going to talk about 2 now, which is ordered lists and unordered lists. So let's go on order and order. So unordered lists, so this is when you are using bullets or icons to list something, you know, in your documents, or probably you are taking notes. You want to have something like probably you are trying to list something. You say 1, probably A, 2, B, 3, C. So that is ordered list when you are using number. But unordered list, that is when you are using icons or bullets. So let's go on ordered list. So let me make this a paragraph. So now let's go on ordered list. So on ordered list, so when you take this U and this L, that is UL. So that stands for unordered list. So if I say UL, so we have this. So inside this UL, so this will be the parents for the list. Now we need each item, that is LI, list item. So the list item is going to be living inside the unordered list. So this is the type of list, and this is what we are putting inside. So when we have the first element will say something like, okay, we are listing 5 countries in Africa. of course Nigeria should come first. So go South Africa. So Eli again. So for now I can go Ghana, and for now okay, so we should use, let's go Senegal again. So we can go LI, can go Algeria. Okay, so we have 5 countries now. So if I do this, so you can see another list, another list. So this is our another list. Nigeria, let me zoom that. Nigeria, South Africa, Ghana, Senegal, and Algeria. Okay, so let's give this a title. Let's put H3 here. So let's say another lists. So if I say another lists, so let me make another one here. Let me say H3. Let me say other lists. So now for the other lists, so we said here we use the U and the L. So of course we have to use the O and the L here. So let's say OL. So now we'll have the list items. Say Nigeria, like South Africa, like Ghana, like Senegal, like Algeria. So if I go back to my browser and refresh, so now we have this as ordered list and this as unordered lists. So that is all for now on lists. So now let's go to link. You know, on a website, you want to click a link to go to another page. Like if I do something like HTML tables, so I want to redirect to another page. If I click this, I want to go to another page. If I come back, like I want to be able to move, like freedom of movement. So if I go to download Sublime Text, so if you can remember this, we click this link, then we're able to move to another page. So inside this website, I click this link so that I can move to, okay, so let's go by. So I click this by so I can move to another page inside this website. So we want to do the same thing. You want to be able to move from this our list.html to table.html, but we are going to create a new file for that. New file. So let's name this file link.html. So of course I'm going to type HTML and press tab. So let's call this link. Let's have h1. Let's say HTML link. Okay. So to use HTML link, let's have a paragraph here. Let's say hello from link page. So this is the link page. You know, let me give you an example. You know, this is a website. Like you want to move from the home page to the about page, from this home page to the download page, from download page to support page, So you want to navigate to another page. So that is what we are trying to do here. So the link tag now. So let me create a comment. I just want to be reminding you guys of comments. So let's say link tag. So link tag in HTML, we call it anchor tag. Anchor tag. So this we use a tag. It is anchor tag. It is called anchor tag. So a, close it, and another a. So inside this place, you want to put the target link, the link that you want to redirect the user to. So we use href. that is hyperlink reference. So this href now, they are all inside the same folder. Or let's say I want to, when the user click this link, I want to take them to Google page. So I say http://google.com. Or let's take, for instance, this Sublime Text website. Let me right click, copy this. So let me open it again. Let's delete all this and let's paste that link that we just copied. So inside this place, just like all this H1 paragraph, so this is what the user will see. So that is what we are going to put in. Let's put something like click here to download Sublime Text. Okay, so when the user click here, it's going to take them to where they will download Sublime Text. I think that's cool. Okay, so now we have to right click. This is link.html. You have to right click and say open in browser. Okay, so if I click this, it's going to take me to Sublime Text. Wow, this is cool. So if I go back, so I'm on my page again. So let's change this to google.com. google.com. Okay, so if I click this now, it's going to take me to google.com. Okay, so let's go back. This is one reasonable thing that you might want to do, of course, that you need to do on a website. You want to move from one page to another. Like you want the user to do something, move from this page to another. So now you can see that if I click this, it's going to load here and take it to Google. But I don't want that to happen. I want it to be opening on another tab here. Like if I click open link in another tab, so I want it to be doing like that automatically. So I can add another attributes. This is an attribute href. So I can add another attributes targets and make it underscore blank. So this is going to open another tab and it will load this link in the other tab. So if I click that, no, that is not working. I didn't save that. What is going on? Targets then underscore blank. Okay, so we have this now. So this is my page. So if I click another one, so target underscore blank, so it's going to open it in another tab. Okay, so but now let's say click here to visit Google. So let's have another a tag. So now this href, now we want to navigate to list.html. So I'm just going to say list.html. Now this link.html and list.html, they are in the same folder. If I go to my desktop now, go back, HTML tutorial. So we have the link and the list.html. So they are in the same folder. So I can just navigate to this. This is the file parts of this list.html. If I say this, I can just navigate to list.html. Then I can say click here to go to lists page. Okay, list page. So if I go back to my browser and refresh, so you can see we have click here to visit Google, click here to go to list page. So if I click this, now I'm on list page. So I want something that says go back on the list page. So I'll go back to my text editor. So this list.html, if you have closed that, you can just go back to your folder, right click and say open with, then look for Sublime Text here. If you can't find it here, you can say choose another app. Then you scroll like all the way down till you have Sublime Text. So I have too many apps already, so it's not here. So you can just say look for another app on your PC. so I don't want to do that. Or you can click on file, then go to recents. Okay, I haven't closed the Sublime, I'll reopen. Okay, so you can just from here drag down to Sublime. Yeah, this should work. If I drag this down, can you see that? So drag down to Sublime, so that is better. So from here I want to have another anchor tag, another a tag that says link.html. So this is going to move from here to link.html. So I'll say something like go back. So go back. So if I refresh, scroll up, I'll have go back. So if I go back, this is it. If I go to the list page, if I go back, that is anchor tag. So you can see that it's showing as link. So that is anchor tag. Okay guys, so basically we are through with our HTML class for now. But before I move down to the next tutorial, so let's quickly talk about website anatomy. You know, we have been doing how to make heading, how to include image, how to include how to include link, table, and all that. But now let's look at the structure of a website. So I don't have any material here because I want us to do all this together. So if I open new tab now, if I say website anatomy, so how should a website look like? So website anatomy. So if I open this, okay, now, yeah, cool. So a website should have header. Then inside the header, we have navigation. So call to action button, hero image. So this hero image can serve as banner. So let me open a website for you. Let me open maxedge.co.uk. Okay, this is a perfect example. I'm telling you guys, this is a perfect example. So now we have the head. This is our head. So inside the head we have the navigation and identity. We call this identity. That is the logo, or you call it brand. That is the website logo. So you can see header, the navigation, then hero image. This is the hero image. This image right here. See, so this is the hero image. Then on the hero image we have something we call to action button. So that is what tells the user that, hey, click here to do something. And you see, get in touch with us, read more, get in touch, read more. So now we have the main contents, then we have sidebar and footer. So if I scroll down, sorry about that. So if I scroll down to the bottom of the page, what is going on here? What happened? Oh, I don't know. Something is going on this their website. I just want to use the website as an example. So I don't know. Let's go to another website. Okay, now this is Sublime Text. So you can see their footer. The footer will have some social media link, then the site address and site identity. So that is their name, the address, and social media. That is footer. So let me go back to the home page. Okay. So this is call to action button, is telling you that download this. And this is footer. So I'm just trying to show you guys that when you're trying to build a website, you need the header, then call to action, main area, then sidebar. So this is some kind of blog now. So sidebar and footer. So now let's take a look at, okay, so this should load completely. Okay, so this is their footer now. So this is footer, and this is the header, and this is the hero, no sidebar, and this is main area. So let's go to kind of like my school gist. Okay, like this is actually blog pattern. So we have a blog here, so you can see the header. So this is telling us to click here to do something. So we have the navigation here, then we have the sidebar, then we have the main area, the main contents, then we have the footer. Perfect example. So let's look at how like the tags that we need to do this kind of stuff. So let me make a new file. Let me call it layouts.html. Okay, so at first let me draw my HTML first. HTML tab. So let's call this layouts. Now let's look at the div tag. So what is the div tag? A div is just like a container that you can use to separate content on your page. So if I have this div now, I can put content like h3 main area, then paragraph, then p tag, so lorem. So if you just type lorem and ipsum, it's going to generate a random text for you, random contents for you. So this is the first div. Let me do another div. Let me say h3. Let me say second article. And call it the p tag. Let me say lorem again. So it's going to generate lorem ipsum. It's a dummy text that you can use for texting. We don't have what we are going to put here. We don't know anything. So we just type lorem. It's going to generate this for you. So if I come here, right click, open in browser. Okay, so you can see that we have this and we have this. You can see that this is now looking like something. Now it's looking like something, but the div is not showing. It's not going to show because it is for you to make use of the div to partition your work. So now I can pass in style now and say width, let's say 50% width. So the width is going to be 50%. Can you see? So I can come down here to say width, let's say style width. So that this is the property, this is an attribute property, then the value of the property, let's say 70%. I can style all this differently just because I'm using the div tag. So that is the container. So inside the second container we have this. So the second container has the width of 70%. So that is div. Nothing more, nothing else. So it's just to partition the work, to make section in the work. So we have something similar to div. Very, very similar. Section. So this is also used for layouts. It's worked the same way with div. So section, if I have h3 as a section 1, then the p tag, I say lorem again, I save that and refresh. You can see that we still have the same thing. So we still have the same thing, just that the width is 100% because that is the default, 100%. So if I go back and say width, let me say 80% here. So I go back to my browser and refresh. So we have 80% width. So you see that it's just for you to like make decision which one are you going to use. But most people use the div tag. So we use the div tag most. So it's just to like couple something together, put them in their space. Like this section is for this section is for this. Okay, so inside these layouts, so let's delete everything that we have there and talk about some other things that we have. So again, we have the header tag. You know, when we check the website anatomy, we have header tag. So this too is like a container. It's like the div tag, or let's say it's a div tag. Just that the name header makes you know that, okay, let me use this is my header tag. This is whatever I have in my heading. This is it. This is where they are. So it doesn't have any special work. I can use it in place of footer. It doesn't mean anything. But you just want to like make your work to neat, make your code to look neat, like clean code. So I can have footer too. Then I can have main too. You see, this is the main, this is the header, this is the footer. It doesn't make any difference. It just depends on the styling that you apply to them. They work the same way, just that the name makes you know that, okay, this is my footer and this is the main area, this is the header. So inside the header now, you can have nav, you know, that's navigation. So this doesn't do anything. It is just a name. You can use div tag for all this. I can just say div and just pass in public class. So we'll talk about class later when we get to CSS. So header, nav, and the closing header, then main, then footer. So inside the main, or let's say, you know, the anatomy that we check, we have the main area, then we have the sidebar. So let's have a section. So this section is the page now. So I can say main, then after the main, I have aside. There's a tag called aside. That is aside. That is sidebar. So you see, all these, they are just names. But as you are going, we are going to be exploring more of it. So let's move down to CSS. My notepad for explanation. Okay. So CSS. So that is cascading style sheets. So that is the C, S, and the S. So, you know, we said HTML is used for the structure of a website or a web page or a web document. So that is HTML. So now CSS, from the name, it is used for styling, the style, to style the website, the styling of a web page. You know, you want to apply color, you want to apply this, the layout, you want this to move up, this to be like this to be like that, this to have this on the line and all that and all that. So if you look at the HTML style attribute, you can see that we have something like this. We have like we can put color, we can put anything that we want, background, on the line, transform, like that. You know, like you can put all those things. So that is with the help of CSS. So that is the style inside the HTML is called Inline Css. But we are going to get to that in a bit now. So for now, CSS is used for styling, while HTML is used to make the structure, the layout, the structure. So why the CSS is used for the styling. So now let's get down to business. So let's look at CSS selector. I mean CSS syntax. So I'm going to create new file here, just inside the same folder. I'm going to put it. I'm not going to put it inside this folder again. I'll go back. Then I'll make new folder from up here. I'll name this CSS tutorial. Sorry, so CSS tutorial. I'll make this syntax.css. Okay, so we have the syntax of CSS. So this is it. Selector, then you open curly braces. That is the open and close. We call this curly braces. You know, like curve brace, curly braces. Then you set your property. Then the value for the property. Then after that, you know, just like the style in HTML. So if I have, like this is the style, then the property and value. It's like what we did the first one. So we said the color, which is the property, then value, then we terminate this and start this. So the same thing in CSS. So I can have another, oh my god, what am I doing? Another property, then value to that, then another property and value to that. So this is how CSS looks like. So if I go back to my desktop, so we have something here. So this is header, then position center, header display inline. So this is display is a property, main float left, sidebar float right, then body padding of 0.3 pixels, 0.3 pixels, body margin of 0 auto, paragraph color of white, header font style bold. So you can see that the selector, that is what you want to apply the style to. Then the property and value, you can add more and more and more properties and value like that. So let's talk about types of CSS. So types of CSS. So let's go with this layout.html. If you still have it. So let's go with that. So I'm going to let's come back to this. Let's open new file. Let's save it. So it's not going to live here. Okay, let it live inside the CSS tutorial. Let's call it types of css.html, or you can make it this way so I won't confuse anybody. So types of css.html. So I have my HTML, then the title now, make it types of CSS, then headline 1, say types of CSS. So we have been using one, which is the inline. I say style, then I say something like background. You can pass anything, background red, color of black. So color of black, I can say font size 30 pixel. So this is inline CSS. You write it within your HTML code, So if I right click on this and say open in browser, you can see that I have types of CSS. The background is red, the color is black. But just imagine that I have more properties like that. I have width 200 pixels. I have height. I have 150 pixels. Like that. You can see that this place will not be looking good. Like if I continue like this, everything is going to be messed up. So that is why we have, see, so this is the small thing I'm doing. You can see. So if I continue like that, I won't be able to be seeing all this HTML text. So that is why we have the internal CSS. So that is another type. So internal CSS. So the internal CSS lives inside the head tag. So from here, inside the head tag, I told you that we put some other things apart from title inside the head tag. That is the page information. So you can have the style. So this is the style tag. When I type style then tab, it's telling me that the type of this tag now is text/CSS. So you can see that it's telling you that we are writing CSS code now. So everything that I have here, I can cut them. So now you can see that I already have this tag here. So that means this tag will be the parent tag for all my style. So I can delete all this, or let me go back, Ctrl Z. So I can delete all this. So inside my style, if we go back to syntax, we said selector. So this is what we are applying all these styles to. So selector, I'm so sorry about this. Selector. So selector, I want to select my H1. So I can say H1. Then you have opening and closing curly braces. I do this. So whatever I put here is going to affect this. So I'm going to put background of red first. Background, you can see that it's even showing me everything. Background of red. So let me delete all this now. So type of CSS, we want it to have background of red. So if I go back to my browser, you can see that we still have background of red, just that we don't have the width and the height again. So now I can pass in color of white and terminate again. So color of white. You can see that this is a bit cleaner than the first one, which is the inline one. So color of white. So I can pass in margin. So basically whatever you can do on the first one, which is the inner, you can do it here also, even more better. So I can say margin. If I go 40 pixels, that means from the top, so this is margin. Then we use margin top, margin left. You can use margin right, margin bottom. So now margin, that means it's going to have 40 at the top, 40 at the left, 40 at the right, then 40 at the bottom. So if I save that and refresh my code, you can see that we have space, space, and space, and space. So let me go back. If I say height, if I say let's go 400 pixels. Can you see that? So if I say text align, say center, can you see that? So you can see that is way more better than the first one. So if I have another tag, div, let's say we have a div tag now. Let's say we have an h3 tag. Let's say headline. Let's say we inside the div now we now have a paragraph tag. Let me type Lauren. So if you have done this, if you haven't done this, you can pause the video and do it, then you follow along. So I want to make the div. Okay, now so everything that we have here is for the h1. Then I will select again selector. I'll select the div, then open and closing curly braces. Then for this div, I can say something like width of 70%. So I can say something of background of gray. So if I go back there, refresh that, you can see that I have the width of 70% and background of gray. So, but what happens if I have another H1 here? Another H1 that just have hello world. So you can guess what will happen, right? You can guess what will happen. So that means everything that we are doing here, that we have been doing here, all the background height, the margin, is going to affect this one too, this H1 too. So if I go to the page and refresh, can you see that? But we don't want that to happen because you have different headlines on the website. Let's take for instance like a blog now, like here now. You can see that here. Let's say this is the heading here, this is the heading here, this is the heading here. Of course, they look alike, but you can see that the margin here is bigger, while this is small. And you can see that the heading that we are having here is just color of white and some type of background. So if we are using this type of selector, it's going to be affecting everything. So that is what brought us to introduction to classes and IDs. So in our HTML, if I pass in a class name here, class, you can see that it's an attribute. Class is an attribute. So class now, if I say the title, so here, if I pass in instead of the h1, if I pass in title, now look at this. It's not going to work because to select, this is the selector, right? To select a class, now we are selecting class now. To select a class name, you use the full stop, then the full stop sign, point, full stop, point. Then the class name, then open and closing curly braces, then you say property, then value. You see that this one is to select the normal tag. Then if you are selecting class, you do this, full stop first. So here, if I say full stop title, so that means I have select this, that h1 that has the class name of title. So if I go back to the code and refresh, so this still with 10 here, but if I scroll down, it doesn't affect this again until if I had class name here and call it title. So if I go back to the page, it's going to affect it now. So I don't want that here. Let me close it. Let me delete that right. So this div now, I'll have many divs on my project, inside my project. So I can name this class. I can name it first div. So here, if I change this div, it's a class. If I say first div, so it's still going to affect this. But if I have another div, I'm sure you know what will happen now. Div, so let me just output lorem then, so lorem ipsum inside the div. So if I refresh, so nothing is going to happen to this div because it doesn't have the same class name with that one. So if I want to style this, is either I give it the same class name or give it another class name like class second div, and then go to my CSS at the top and give it second div, open up closing curly braces, and give it background. Let's say give it background of like let's say hot pink. So you give it like hot pink now. So if I refresh, you can see that this is having hot pink background. So that is the internal CSS. Now let's look at this. If I have, you can see that my CSS is just from line 6 to line 23. So if I'm going to be having like 900 lines of code in CSS, so that means if I need to access my HTML code, I will have to keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling to wherever I have the HTML. So you can see that this too is cool though, but it's not good enough. So that is why we need the external CSS. Now let's talk about external CSS. So external CSS, it means that a CSS that live inside another file is a separate file. So like external is a separate file. So if I create new file now and save it as external.css, so this is where we have the types of CSS. So external.css, if I click that, so if I now set this title from here, if I say title, you can see that they are inside the same folder. Is that they are inside the same folder, or you put it in a folder next to that one, or you can just put it anyhow, but it's not going to be like this is going to be on your desktop, then the CSS will be inside document. So to locate it, it's going to be like stressing you out. So it's better they are in the same folder, or probably a folder next to another. So this title now, I can set the font size now. You can see that we are still having all the same options font size because this is .css, so it's going to be giving us options of CSS. So 30 pixels. So what we are doing now is that this is going to increase the title font size to 30 pixels. So if I refresh now, nothing happened, of course, because I need to tell this HTML file that there's a file somewhere that have all this styling. So in order to link that, I can just come here and say link and press tab. Okay, so this is cool. Now this is telling me that relative. What is this link for? Okay, it's a style sheet. It's a style sheet. So I have my styles here. So you can just go there, grab the styles and apply it. So the type of this style sheet is text/CSS. Then href. So this is the link, the hyperlink reference, the link of this file. So if I check the folder here, so let's go back, CSS tutorial, you can see that they are inside the same links, just like the same folder, just like the way we reference link.html and list.html then. So you can just say external.css. But if it's inside another folder, probably let's say I have a folder called CSS, then I have a file there. Let me see, new document, text document. I have a file there that I call style.css. So this file style.css, if I want to locate this now, so that means instead of putting just external.css, I would first name the folder css/style.css. So but for now we have it in the same folder, inside the same folder, say external.css. Now if I delete all these styles, if I delete everything, so we have the class of title, then here we have reference title to have 30 pixels. So if I refresh that, do we have any changes? I think, is this 30 pixels now? Let's make it 300. Know if something is actually going on. Oh my god. Oh, something is going on there. So this is 300 pixels, but let's make it 30 and let's say color of orange. So I have the color of orange now. Nothing shows up. What is going on? Color of orange. Color of red. Nothing come up. So we have the style, title, then this is it. Oh, you see, whenever you use a property, then value, you have to terminate it. So that was the problem. So now you can see that we have the color of red now. So you can see that if I have 1,000 lines of CSS code, it's not going to affect my HTML. So HTML is separate while CSS is separate. So I think this is kind of the best practice to use HTML and CSS. Now let's talk about comments in CSS. We said and you see this is comments in HTML. You can see that it doesn't do anything here. Because this is HTML tag. This is HTML syntax. It's different from CSS syntax. So to comment here, we use / then asterisk. You can see that we have this comment sign now. See that it's blur now. So then if you want to close this comment, you say asterisk /. So whatever I put here is not going to do anything. So if I refresh my code, nothing happened. Or to make this, if I say width, if I say background of red, now you can see that it's inside comment, so it's not going to reflect unless I remove the comment. If I remove the comment like this, it will reflect. So that is comments in CSS. So now let's talk about margin and padding. So somebody will be like, what is padding again? You say margin is the outer space so the space that will be outside an element, while padding is the inner space. So let's put that into practice. So this first div, so I go to my CSS. So let's close this. If you haven't done that, you can close all this. You don't actually need it again. I've closed my internal and my external.css. If I go to recent, I have external.css. Okay, so now if I select the first div, don't forget selector, then open and closing curly braces. But now we are selecting class, so we have to use full stop. Now what is the name of the class that we are going to select now? First div. So this div now, I want to say margin top. Let's break it down. Top, I want to have 40 pixels. Margin bottom, I want to have 20 pixels. So if I refresh now, so in order for us to actually see the reflection, let's put background of light gray. Is it light gray like this? Okay, light gray. So light gray. Okay, so we have this. So at the top we have 40 pixels. Then here we have 30 pixels. Now let's talk about padding now. Padding is actually the inner spacing. So you can see that all these touches the edges of this division. So I want to give space. So whatever that is inside it, I want them to have space. I want to give space. So if I say padding of 20 pixels now, if I refresh, you can see that from up here down we have 20 pixels, 20 pixels, 20 pixels, 20 pixels. So you might be looking at like this upper padding is more than 20. That is because the headline tag already has some margin. Same thing goes with paragraph, already has some margin. That is why. So if I select all the p tag, then if I say p because it's tag p, if I say margin of 0, you can see that this will close up now. If I hit the refresh button, that is F5 for refresh. So you can see that there's no more, this has reduced, the bottom part has reduced. So let's close the h3 tag too. So if I say h3, if I say margin of 0, so this will close too. So you can see that we have 20 pixels padding at the top, at the bottom, left and right. So that is padding and margin. Margin is the outer space, while padding is the inner space. Okay guys, so what else do we have? We have background. So we have been using background. So let's take, for instance, I want to use image as my background. I want to use image as my background. You can see that on this Opera, so we have an image as the background. So I want to use image as the background. You might have been seeing that, you know, if we go back to maxedge.co.uk, you can see that we have this image. I didn't want to sign up for any email updates, please. So you can see that we have this image as the background. So I want to use something like that. So let's get an image to use first of all, because you need the image to use first of all. So I can pick up random image at pixels.com. So it's free stock photos. Like you can get any type of picture you are looking for. So if I say I'm looking for image of construction, so this is it. Can you see that construction? So if you are doing any graphics work or you are designing any web page, so you can come here to grab image. So I think this is sweet. Okay, but this is a bit nicer. So let's use this one. So I can click on download, but if I click on download, it's going to download with high resolution, and that would be like 3 megabytes or so. But let's do that. So we have 1.5 megabytes. So due to testing, I can save image as. Then I'll go to desktop to locate my CSS folder, CSS tutorial folder. Then this image, now I can say image, I can say, let's say construction. Yeah, let's name the image construction. So if I save that, so you can see that we now have the image as construction.jpg. If I drag it down to my browser, construction.jpg. So let's go back to the CSS. So now let's remove this background. Now let's say background image. So background image is a property. So background image. Now to use background image, you can see that in our image tag, img tag, we have something that we call source for the img, but here we have URL for the background image. So we have URL. So now inside this URL, I'll pass the location of the image. So if I go to the CSS tutorial folder, so we have the image like in the same folder with the CSS file. So what I can do now is to just say inside this string, to just say the name of the image. So inside this open and closing inverted comma, I can just say construction.jpeg. So this is the extension of the image. This is the name of the image. If I go back, I have construction.jpeg. So I just put everything here. So if I go back to my code and refresh, you can see that we have the image as the background now. So let's increase the height of this division so we can see it very well. So height, I can pass in like 300 pixels. So now we have this now. So, but what if we want to use, let's use the first image that we have, because we want to talk about background repeats and background size. So this first image that we have inside HTML tutorial, we actually copy the email online. I think so. We copy the image online. We use the link of the image. So now CSS tutorial, back to CSS tutorial. So if I go to Google and just search for CSS logo, so let's have this. So you can see that this is a small image. Let's have this. This is bigger. Okay, so this is small now. So inside CSS tutorial now, I can name it CSS logo. So click that. So you can see that this is saved as CSS logo.jpg, not jpeg now, because that is how they upload the image online. So you have to look at the extension. So back to business here. If I change this to CSS logo.jpg now and go back and refresh, yeah, so this is what I want to talk about. You can see that we have this background is repeating itself, and this, I don't know, it's my logo now, but if you are doing something else, it's going to be like messed up. So we have something we call background. So if you type background, you will see all properties that you can add to background. So we can say background origin, background size, position, repeat. So for now, we are going to use repeats. Then we say no repeats. So this is not going to repeat the image. So you can see that it's just here at this corner. So we have background position. So if I set that to center, and you can see that my background is now at the center. It is not that the image is at the center, it is just the background. So if I change the background to construction.jpeg, if I refresh, you can see that this was not how this was looking before. So if I change the position, if I delete that, go back, refresh, you can see that this is just normal now. But when I make the position to the center, it's looking cool. So let me take it back to CSS logo.jpg. Okay, so now we have something that we call background size. So the size now is just the normal size of the image, because the image is a small image. If we check the size and the dimension here, I don't know if you can see 184 by 280, so it's a very small image. So now I can say background size by default is contain. So that means it's just going to like contain all the size inside the division. Can you see? But now I can use something like cover, so it's going to cover all the parents, like the division. This is our parent now, the first div. So if I refresh that, so you can see that we have the image all over the division. Now if I set the position now to top, you see the difference now. So you can see that we're only seeing the content at the top, which is because it's positioned to the top now. So if I increase the height of this to something 600 pixels, so you can see that the top, because 600 pixels is almost like the height of my screen. You can see that. So if I change it to contain again, so it's still going to like maintain the ratio, the aspect. So if I reduce this back to 300 pixels, okay, now so let's change this to construction.jpg. okay, you know that we are on content. That is why you are seeing all the image shrink inside the division. So if I make it cover, okay, so we have it like that. Then the position to center, let's say top. Yeah. Now let's look at background attachments. So background attachments by default is none. We are going to make it fixed. So this fixed is saying that the background should not move while the page is moving. I need some kind of scroll here. So let me duplicate. You know, when you are scrolling up and down, the background should not move, but the page will be moving. So if I have another div here, inside the div, I say lorem. Okay, here now we can scroll up and down. So if I scroll now, okay, we still can't show. Okay, let me just increase the screen. Control plus equals to. Okay, now so if I'm scrolling now, you can see that the background is not moving. Can you see that? That is background attachment is fixed. So the page is moving, but background is not moving. That is background attachment is fixed. Okay, so what else do we have? Let's look at CSS position. CSS position. So let's get rid of this. Okay. So let's take it back to normal. So I don't know if you have seen when you enter a website, you will see some kind of button. Probably when you click the button, it's going to take you to WhatsApp, or when you click the button, it's going to open live chats for you. If you have ever come across that before. So if I live chats, okay, so if I click the official live chats website, oh, they don't have what they are selling, or what? Okay, oh my god, I was so scared. So this is it. You can see that this is positioned at the bottom of the page. No matter what you are doing, it's just there. So that is position. So now let's do something like that. Let's do a WhatsApp call to action button. So So let me have a div. Let me have a div. Let me give it class of WhatsApp button. So inside this div, I will have a link tag, so that when they click on the link, it will take them to WhatsApp. So that is the A tag, right? So if I have the href, I'll do that later. So inside this, I'll say WhatsApp. So if I go back to the page and refresh, we're going to have WhatsApp at the top. So but we want to move WhatsApp to somewhere around here, so that when I'm scrolling, it's still going to be there. So the class of WhatsApp button, I want to copy it. Then inside my CSS, go down. Div, is a class name, so I have to use the full stop to target the class name. Target the class name. Okay, so now I want to say position. This is not background position. Now this is the main position. So I want to say position. I want to position that to absolute. So absolute, now I can move it anywhere. So you can see that it's now on top of this. So by default, the position is relative. You can see that it's just normal now. So that is by default. But now I want to make it absolute. So now I can move it. So now the absolute, now I can say something like bottom. For the absolute, I can say 10. So that means from top to bottom, the spacing that will be there will just be 10. So if I refresh, we don't have that. Is that 10 or 10 pixels? Okay, so 10 pixels. Sorry about that. 10 pixels now. So you can see that we have the WhatsApp right here. You see that we have the WhatsApp right here. 10 pixels. Okay, so now let's go right. I want to make that 10 pixel also. So it's going to come to the right. Now can you see it? But as we are scrolling, this keeps going up. We don't want that to happen. So we are going to change the absolute to fixed now. If you can remember background attachments, so we are going to change absolute to fixed. So if I refresh that, so it is here now. So I'm going to scroll. You can see that it's just there. Okay, now so we want to replace this text with WhatsApp logo. So inside the A tag, I'm going to have an image tag. So img. Then the source, now I'll go online. I'll search for WhatsApp logo. So I think this is not cool. I need something that doesn't have background. Okay, this is fine. So I'll open the image in new tab. So I'll copy this link now. So I've copied the link. I'll go back to my code. I'll paste down the link. So if I refresh this now, so this is fixed. Yeah, it is. So I'll set the width, the height rather. So let's go height here. Let's just make it like 50. That is 50 pixels. You can see that it's small, but it's still big. So let's make it 24, 30. Okay, now so we have this. So if I go back to live chats, you can see that this is their own and this is mine. So if I take that back, let's still go like 50. Okay, so we have this. So if I'm scrolling up and down, it's just going to be like that. So it's just going to be like that. So that is position. So I can move this. I can move it to the top. instead of using bottom of 0, so I can say 10 top rather, so it's at the top now. So I can move it to the left. Let's back to bottom. Let's make this left. So all this left, you know, this is not margin left and it's not margin bottom. All this left, top, right, bottom, they are only relevant when you are using the position attribute, the position properties. So I think we are cool with that. Now, let's look at Flexbox. You see, Flexbox on its own is a full tutorial. I'm going to release tutorial video on it, like Flexbox. But we are going to look at introduction to Flexbox. Now we're going to do some cool things using Flexbox. So let's say I have a main div. No, this is secondary div, but let's say, okay, let's make another file for that. Flexbox. Let's save it and call it flexbox.css. So I'll type HTML. What is happening? Oh, I use flexbox.css. So let's make another file to save. Flexbox.html. So this first one is CSS file. The second one is HTML file. So inside here, I'll say HTML, then tag. I'll say flexbox. So I'll say h1 flexbox. Now I will have a main div. So inside this main div, I'll have the section div. So like I can just section tag. I can just use div. You know, you can use anything, but I just want to use section so that I won't be doing one thing. Okay, just to like loop around. So inside the section, I want to have the main, which will serve as the main page, then aside, which will serve as the sidebar. So now, if I go to my Flexbox now, I want to grab my section. You know, this is not class. This is not class. This is a tag. So we use this, the tag name. Use the tag name. So I want to say display of flex. So I've changed the display to flex now. So it's a flex box now. So inside this place, I just want to pass some style quickly. I say height of 60 pixels. Say style height of 60 pixels again. So height of 60 pixels. So if I refresh that, wrong code. So if I open this in browser, the flexbox.html, so we have this and nothing else. So let's pass in background to this, or let's just go to our CSS code without wasting time. So the CSS now, so you can just pass in class here and go to your CSS and use the class to target that. I'm just going to use the tag name. So main, set the height to 600 pixels, then background to light gray, then the aside tag, I'll set the height to 300 pixels and background to gray, not light gray this time around. Okay, so it's not reflecting. Of course, you have to link this flexbox.css to flexbox.html. So I'm just going to say link, then inside the href, I'll say flexbox.html, .css. So nothing comes up. What happened? Am I doing wrong? So let's go back to the CSS tutorial folder. Okay, we have flexbox.html, then we have flexbox.css and html. So flexbox.css. Let's put something here first. Let's see what we are doing wrong. Okay, it's because the stuff is empty. So we have for the main, let's say inside the main we have a div that represents an article. Like probably we are working on a blog now, so this is an article. This is one article. So the article will have title, that's like h3 title. Let's say article title. Then the article will have body. Let's generate some lorem, but this is too much. Let's keep it like this, small lorem. So don't forget, lorem ipsum is just a dummy text. So now we have this now. So inside the sidebar, so if I go to my school gist, I've closed that. My school gist. So the sidebar here, we have scholarships and opportunities. That is the headline for the sidebar. But before that, we have this search button. So that this search, this is form. We call it form. That is HTML form. So search. So as we've discussed, let's put this search inside this aside. Let's say form. So this is the form tag. Form. So inside the form, let's say we have inputs. Then we have the button tag to submit the form. Submit the form. Let's say we have the inputs of type of text. So if I go back and refresh, so now you can see that we are having the two next to each other. That is because their parents, which is the section tag, is a flex box. So flex box, it automatically like display all the children beside each other, next to each other, in line. That is flex box. So if I change the flex direction, so by default is row. If I change it to column, so that means this is row like this. Now it's going to be column now. That is, it will be stack vertically. So if I refresh that, you can see that this is like this, while this is like this. This is aside and this is the main area. So okay, so let's remove this. So just leave it like that. So we want the main area to be width of, let's go 700 pixels. 700 pixels. So this is the main area. But the section, we don't want it to fill the whole page. If I check this page, you can see that. Let's take for instance their own section. Now you can see that we have some space here. There's some space here. Let's just say that our section, let's give it width of, let's say 960 pixels. So that is what most people use, 960 pixels. So let's say 960 pixels. You might not see the reflection, but if you pass in background of red, you can see that 960 pixels is from ear to ear. That is 960 pixels. So now what I can do now is I need to move all this down to the middle. So if I say margin left should be 0, so it should be auto. That means it's going to move from left auto. That is 100% from left to right. So it's going to shift everything to the right. You can see that. So if I say margin right auto again, that means it's going to shift everything from left to from right to the left. That's 100% from right. So it can't stay by the left at the same time, can't stay by the right. So it's just going to stay at the middle. So that is cool. Now we have this now, but I think our own is kind of too small. Let's make it 1000 pixel. Okay, so let's go with this. So let's say we have this. Okay, so let's remove background from here, but I just want us to see that this is actually what we are doing. So let's just leave it. So we have this and we have this. So for the width of this aside, it is just using the width of the form. So let's pass in some width there. Let's say 300 pixels. So if you say 700 plus 300, that is 1000. Yo, I think we are cool. But if I do it anything more than 1000, it's going to like shift this one. You can see that this is 700, so this is no more 700 now. So if I make this 700 rather, you can see that they are now sharing equally, but we don't want that to happen. So that is why we pass flex 1. So this is saying that the width should take whatever space that is remain out of this 1000. If this take 300, this should take the remaining one. So if I refresh now, you can see that. So if this take 700 now, if I refresh, you can see that this is just taking the remaining side. So that is flex of 1. So let's make it 300 back. Okay, so we have this. Okay. Okay. So now let's say, so we have this and this is our form. Okay. So for the article, let's continue the article. So we have the first article, where is flexbox.html, don't forget. So we have the first article. Now I can copy all this, paste it. That's the second article. So we have the second article. We have the third article. So like that. Then I can have some type of list here to list out something the way they did here. So can you see these are posts? So I can have them here on my sidebar. So that is what we are trying to see now, is that this is the main area and this is the sidebar. So the flex box allows us to place them beside each other. That is it. So flex box, it makes everything to be flexible. So you can use them the way anyhow you want. Okay, so we are going to stop there on flex. So now let's wrap up everything we have learned so far. Okay, welcome back. Now we want to put everything we have been saying since morning into action. So we want to see how we use all these tags. So basically what we are doing now is to make a blog. So if you don't know what blog is basically you are posting content, something like Facebook. You post something for users to see, so they will read, comment, like, and all that. But we are going to do a very basic blog now. So let me show you what we are doing. So now I don't have any materials on ground because I want us to do this together. So I will search for blog. I'll search for simple blog design. Okay, so I will go to images. So I'll go to images, then under templates here, under templates, can you see my mouse? Templates, Then I will select this one right here, this one right here. I'll select this. Okay, so I will open to visit the link. So this is what we are doing. So let's go to live preview. Then if we scroll down to remove frame to full site preview, if I click that, okay, so this is what we are doing. Though we are not going to implement everything that we are seeing here, we just want to make it to be very simple so it won't waste most of our time. Okay, now so from here, let's assume this is our header. So we are not going to be using this. So if I inspect, we are not going to be using this. I'm saying that again. So we're not going to be using this. Or okay, we are not going to be using this. We'll just go ahead with this. So if I inspect elements, so this is it right here. So I think primary nav. So I've deleted that. Okay, so this is what we are doing now. Okay, so let's consider this as the logo. Then this is the navigation. So everything like this is our area, is our header. So we have we have business, parents category, then we have featured and elf. So now let's look for a logo to replace this text here. So I'll go to Google, I'll type logo maker. So, okay, let's go logo maker. So if I go like this, okay, so let's click on this. We are just looking for something with plain background, I mean transparent background. So if I click this, you might not really understand what I'm saying now, but when we see what we are looking for, or let's say HTML logo, so we should see something with plain background there. Okay, you can see the background now. So this is plain background, this is transparent background. So I'll right click, I'll save image as. So this is the name of the logo. So I'm on my desktop now, so I'll create a new folder for this project. I'll say blog project. So this is the project's name. Then I'll create another folder for all my image, all the images I'm going to be using in this project. So I'll create the images folder. So inside the images folder, so now under the desktop, blog project, then under the images folder, we'll name it logo. Then we'll save that. Okay, so now we have the logo. So let's open up our Sublime text. I've closed mine. So Sublime text 3. Okay, these are the previous. So I'll close. Let me just save this. So I'll close, then I'll close. Okay, so I'll go to file, I'll say new file, then I'll save that. Then I'm not going to use the same folder again. So under my desktop, blog project, then I'll make this index.html. So you know, I told you that the .html will tell the browser that okay, you are handling an HTML file. So but what is this index? So index is the main file that the browser will look for whenever you open up to any website. So the index, like something at the top. So this is what the browser will first look for. So if the index is missing, so let me save this index now. So before we text if the index is missing, so you see the difference if the index is not there and if it's there. So let's name this, what is the name of the blog? The Funk blog. So the Funk blog. So if I say hello from the Funk blog, so if I right click now and say open in browser, okay, so we have hello from the Funk blog. So you can see that we're having index.html here. But if I delete this and press enter, so you can see that we are seeing all the index of this, all the files under this directory, under this folder. So if I click the index file, so we might not really see the usefulness of this index file here, but you can just go to Google. Let's say something like what is index file in HTML. So I'm not going to do this with you, but you can just quickly glance through and see what is there. So it's the same thing I've said before. So default file name, so you can just go to, you can open up this link to check more. So I'm just trying to like save time here. So we're going to name that index.html. Okay, so what do we have here? So at first we have our header, then we have the main area, we have the sidebar, then down the page we have the footer. So now let's go with the header. So the header has the logo, then the navigation. So now let's use the header tag. So now I'll create a div for the logo. So let me put logo here. Then I'll create a nav tag for the navigation. So under the nav tag, I'll have the lists of items, all these items: home, business, parent, category, featured, else. So if you can remember, we talk about lists in HTML. So we use something like OL or UL, but there's no point using OL, because what we are doing, we are going to hide all the bullets or probably all the numbering. So we're just going to go with UL directly. So I have the UL. So now we are going to go with list items. So list items now. So what we have: home, business, parent, category, featured, else. I'll say home. Everything is in cap, but let's just leave it like this so we can learn something new as we are going. So home, parent, that is business, parent, category. So this is business. If you check the website again, this is business. So we have featured and else. Li featured, li else. Okay, so this is everything we have under the navigation. Then the logo, now we have to pass in the image that we downloaded not quite long. That's the HTML logo. So inside this place, so in order to use image, now we use the img tag. Then inside the source, you can see that I just press img, then I press tab. So inside the source, we are going to pass in the location of the image. So if I go to the project folder, which is what did I use? Okay, blog projects. So blog projects. So under my desktop, blog projects, so you can see that this is where our index file is. Then inside the same directory within the index file, we have the images folder. So I'm going to reference images / so if I go back, if I open this, now we have our image, which is logo.png. So if I save that, so basically I should have the logo and the list items for our navigations. Now let's quickly style this. So for our header, we are going to use, you can see that, so let's say this height, let's say this is 200 pixels. So before I can do that, let's, we are going to use CSS for that. So let's create a new file. So I just want to be doing it step by step. So we are going to do header now. I think I removed this before. So inspect elements. So this nav, can you see their nav? I'm going to remove it. Okay, because I don't want that to be part of what we are doing. So I'm going to create a new file now. New file. I'll save it. So inside this same directory with the index file, I'll say style.css. So this is our style sheets file now. .css. Now, if I say header, that is the selector. So I select the header, then I open the curly braces, then I set the height to 200 pixels. So for us to see the reflection now, if I go to the web page to what we are building and refresh, nothing will come up. We won't see the difference. We won't see any changes there. So that means we have to link. That means we have to link the CSS. So I just press link, then tab. So all this will come up. So inside the href, that is hyperlink reference, I'm going to pass in style.css because they are in the same directory. So I just have to pass in the file name. So if I refresh that, we can't see any changes simply because the background is white and the page is white. So for us to see what we are doing now, let's just pass in background of gray so we can see what we are actually doing. So you can see that this is where 200 pixels, this is where it is. Now for us to get rid of these white spaces at the top, let me pass in margin here 0. So it means that it's going to close all these gaps. So these spaces that you are seeing, they are by default, but now we want to close everything. We don't need it. So by refresh, it is not working. So I think that one is with the body. So we are going to target the body now. We select the body and say margin 0. So if I refresh that, so everything is closed. This is the body here, this main body. So okay, so we have this and we have this. So if I check this, you can see that they are about the same height. Okay, now so I'm going to reduce the size of my image, of this image. So let's pass in class of brand, or let's make this the brand, class of brand. Let's just call it brand like that. So let's delete this. Just call it brand. So we are going to target this brand. So brand, this is class now, so we have to use full stop. Brand, we are going to make height to be 72 pixels. Then now if I refresh this, nothing is going to happen, just that this will come up because 72 pixels is from here to here. So this is going to come up, but for this image to maintain that 72 pixels, we are going to target the image too. So now I can choose to pass in class because I can't target the image there because we are going to have many pictures on this page that we are building. So I can use something that we call descendant in CSS. There's something called descendant. So if I say brand, then I want to target the children of this brand or a child of this brand. So you can see that this brand only has one child, which is the img. So I can say brand, then img, then open the curly braces. So this is telling us that the img inside this brand. So this is not going to affect any other img that we are going to be having on our page. So if I go height, so now I don't need to set 72 pixels, I can just say 100%. So it's going to take 100% of its parent. So this is the parent now. So it's going to take 100% height, which is 72 pixels. So if I refresh that, now we have our small image. So now for this edge, now this header, I'm going to say display of flex, so they can come beside each other, display flex, so they can be horizontal like this, stack horizontal. So if I refresh that, so this is it now. But now what we want to do now is we want them to have space in between. That is, this will move to this edge while this will stay at this angle at the start of the flex. This will move to the end of the flex. So we can use justify contents, which is also a property, and pass in the value of space between. So space between now. So if I refresh that, you can see that we have the navigations here, then we have the logo here. So I can say something like space around too. So that means it's going to maintain even space, or space evenly. That's the space outside and inside, so it's going to be even. So this is taking half of the flex, this is taking half, but we are going to use between, so we can create space in between them. So what I can also do is align items, then center. So let me explain this now. You can see that they are positioned at the top. I want them to be at the middle of this header. So I pass in align items center. So if I refresh that, so we have them at the middle. Okay, so what we can also do is to pass in some margin. But if you check this, you can see that this is the same thing with this. That means they use the same weight for this and the main content. So what we can do is we can have, this is going to spoil what we have been doing. Okay, so we can set our header. So since we are going to remove the background, I don't want this to, so let me check that again. Okay, so we can set our header to have width of 1000. Then, so if I say width of 1000 and come here to refresh, is it 1000? Oh my god, sorry. So that should be 1000 pixels, not 100%, 1000 pixels. So you can see that now. So I want it to move to the middle. Then I can say margin left auto. That means it's going to move all the way from left to the right. Then margin right, that means it's going to move all the way from right to the left. So it's just going to stay at the middle. So if I save that and refresh, so we have this at the middle of the page. So but in order to make this short, I can just say something like margin 0 auto. So now I'm passing two parameters to the margin. Now this first parameter will be for, let me create a comment here. This is comment in CSS. So the first parameter, which is 0, will be for the top and the bottom, while the auto will be for the left and the right. So now you understand what we are trying to do now. So margin left auto, then margin right auto, and this auto will replace this two, so we don't need to put this again. So we're good to go. So we still have the same results. Or let's say, let's make it 1 2. Okay, so 1 2. Let's go back 1000. I just leave it 1000. Okay, so now we are going to remove the background that we put before, because we don't actually need it. Okay, so we have this and we have this. So for if we check our navigation here, you can see that we have everything capitalized, and they are not vertical like this, they are stacked horizontal. So to stack them horizontally, of course we are going to use the flex display of flex. So I'm going to target the nav. You know, nav is tag, so nav, which is stand for navigation. Then under the nav we have the UL, which is stand for the UL. We have the UL. So UL is the parent. So UL is the parent for all these list items. So I'm going to set that to display of flex. So if I save that, go back to the page and refresh, you can see that we have them horizontally now. So I can say, hey, now what we are going to do is, you see all these dots, all these bullet stuff, we are going to remove that by saying list style. We're going to say none. We don't want any style, none. So now we have that. So now you can see that under the nav we have the UL, then under UL we have the LIs. So I'm going to target all the LI. I'll say nav UL LI. So now I want to create some spacing, so I'll say margin left, say 10 pixels. So by the left of each items I should have margin there. So this is not enough, let's make it 20. Okay, so we have it right like that. So now we are going to capitalize all this. I'll say text transform. I want to transform it from the normal state to uppercase. So uppercase, I'll refresh. So I have that. Okay, so we have this. I don't want to waste too much time. I am doing that already. So let's leave that. Let's quickly go to the main and the sidebar. So I'll have section. So let's assume that we are through with our header. Now I will have section. So the section is going to be the main page now. So inside the section we're going to have the main, then we are going to have a side, which will be as our sidebar. Then the main will be the main, where we are going to have all the blog posts. So inside the main here we have one blog post, which is this one. So we are going to create a div and give it a class of blog, let's just say posts. So this will stand for one post, to represent a post. So now if we check post, now we have post title, then we have post details, or let's say post meta or post informations. So this is the person that posted this, content, the dates, then let's say this is categories or tags, then comment, we have just one comment. So we are not going to be using all these icons because that is not part of the scope of this tutorial. So after that we have the image, blog image, then probably blog content, a bit of the content, then a button that says read more. So let's quickly do this. But before we go like that, I can see that our section will have background, so we don't want to go and be looking for background for now because of time. Let's just say section, since we are going to have just one section, or you can modify that, make it unique, give it class and say main section. So inside this place, instead of using section, I'll say full stop main section. Okay, so now I'll pass in background. Let's go light gray. So let's go light gray. If I refresh this again, I need to remove this. Okay, let's just assume this is not there. So if I refresh this, we are not going to be seeing, supposed to be seeing something. main section, background light gray, main section, background light gray. Okay, there's no content there yet. We don't have anything inside the main section, but what I'm just going to do now is I am going to set a virtual height for that. I'm going to set height first so we can see the background. I'm going to say height of 500 pixels. So if I go back and refresh, now we have the section. Okay, so we are going to break this into two. We are going to break this into two by saying, okay, so we don't want the weight to pass 1000. Yeah, I think we use 1000 for this, but what I'm just going to do there is that this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have another div. Don't get confused here. So this new div will wrap these two instead of wrapping them under section. So if I say div, so I'm going to move all this. I'll cut that, then I'll paste it. So let's indent that so that we'll not get confused. So this div is under this one. So just to make it neat. Okay, so under our main section now, the main section will have only one child, which will be this div. This div, so you can call it class of wrapper. So it's the one that will wrap the main area and the sidebar. So this wrapper now, I can now set the weight of the wrapper. So inside my CSS now, wrapper, I can set the width to 1000 pixels. What am I doing? Width 1000 pixels. Okay, then I'm going to set it to, so don't let us do that yet. So for inside each blog post, let us output something like lorem. So know that we have a blog post. Okay, so we have a blog post now. So, and for inside sidebar, let us output lorem again, and very small lorem. Let's stop here. So let's just make it small. So now this is we can't know the difference yet, so let's create some differences there. So for the wrapper, I say width of 1000 pixels. I'll say margin 0 auto just to bring it to the center. I'll say display of flex, then I'll say justify contents space between. Okay, so now that we have the wrapper as flex container, then I'm going to target the main tag. I'll say flex of 1, so it can take all the remaining space, while the aside will be just width of 300 pixels. So if I refresh that, you can see that we have the aside here and we have the main area here. So we have some spacing here at the top, like right here. So I'll go to my section wrapper, this section wrapper. I'll pass padding. You know, I told you that padding is the inner space, while margin is the outer space. So I'll pass padding. So we only want to give the padding at the top now. So if I say 30 pixels, if I go back and refresh, you can see that we have space here, but I'm going to say for 40. Yeah, let's go 40. So I'm going to say 40. Let's just go 40. Okay, so we have this now let's face this blog post. So let's concentrate on the blog post now. So the blog post, the background is white. So inside my code, I think I have a post background of white. posts, background of white. So after that we have some spacing, so we can call that padding. You can see that is the inner space, so I say padding. So let's go 30 pixels. Now we have the post title. We have the post title, then we have all this information. So I'll just get rid of this. So for the post title, I'll create an h3 tag. So inside the title, I think we have sample post with links, paragraph, and comments. I'll just copy all this. Copy. I'll paste it here, so we can have the same content there. So that is the title. I can give it class of title. It doesn't really matter though, but class of title. So all this information now, we can create another div and call it and give it class name of post info. So the post info, now we are going to have the blogger's name, then dates, then categories rather, then comments. So we are going to say we are going to create a div for this. Let's call it class of blogger. Let's say blogger was blogger designer. So let's have another div. Let's call it dates. That is Wednesday, April. I'll just go 14 2020. I'll create another div. I'll give it class. I'll say categories, sports and web design. Categories, I'll go sports, web design. Then we have comments, just one comment. I'll create another one. I'll give it class of comments. I'll say one comment. Okay, so we have that, but we can just make this like look simple. Let's just say this is the blog head, and this is the blog body, and this is the blog footer, just like the main website. So I'll create another division. Now I'll give it class of blog head. So everything from here down to all this information, I'll cut them, then I'm going to paste them inside the blog head. So that is the blog head. So now let's say div. Now let's give it class of blog body. So inside the blog body, we are going to have this content and the image, the blog image. So let's have img. So we're going to pass the location of the image. So let's just right click here and say open image in new tab, because you still want to use this same image. So I'll just copy this link. So this will be the link to the image. Paste. Then I'll have a paragraph tag for all these contents. So this is it. I'll copy that, or right click and copy, then paste. Okay, then inside the paragraph, should we say inside? Okay, so inside the paragraph we have, or probably let's scroll down and see some other posts. Okay, let's just say right below the paragraph we have a button. So this is a button tag. Now we have a button. This is a button tag, so that says read more. Let me just say read more. Okay, so that says read more. Then all this information, that is the blog footer. I'll create a div, I'll give it a class of blog footer. Then I'm just going to copy the same thing we have here inside this place. Then I'm just going to change all this: Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus, Stumble, and Dig. So I'll copy all this, copy, then I'll paste. Okay, so let's just go Facebook, let's go Google Plus, let's go Instagram, let's go WhatsApp. Okay, let's go WhatsApp. So now let's rename all this. Now this is WhatsApp, this is Instagram, this is Google, and this is Facebook. So if I go back to our code and refresh, we'll have this. So this is simply because there's no styling yet. Now let's style this, and don't forget we pass in height of 500 pixels here so we can see what is going on there. So let's just go back to remove the height of the main section wrapper. So remove the height. So if I refresh, okay, so all is well now. Okay, so we are going to make the title to be bigger, then all this will be stacked horizontally, then the image will be the text will be beside the image, and this button will be beside the image. Let's quickly do that. Okay, so this is the post. Then under post we have the blog head. So under blog head, the title, then post info, we have all this. So let's just go blog head first. Is it blog head or post head? Let's go back. Blog head, supposed to be post head. So post head. So post head, I want to say margin bottom 10 pixels. Then the post title, to the title. So the post title, I want to say font size of larger, so just to make it bigger. Or let's go X large. Okay, let's go with that. Okay, so for the blog info, for the post info rather, this is post head. For the post info, I'll say display flex, then I'll say justify content space between. If I refresh that, you can see that we have them right here. Okay, so if I go back, so we have the image and this text, so that is inside the post body. So let's just say the image is like 100 pixels height, then 100 pixels width. So if I say post body, then I target the image, that's img rather. So the img, I can say height of 100 pixels, then width of 100 pixels. So if I go back and refresh, nothing comes up. Let's go back to the code. There should be something. This is blog body, it's supposed to be post body. So if I refresh that again, so we have this here. I think 100 by 100 is way too small. Let's make it 150 pixels by 150 pixels. Refresh that. Okay, we can't go with this. Let's make the width 200 instead. Okay, I think this is perfect. So we want this text to come right this side, so we are going to float our image now to be float left. We're going to use something that we call float. So if I say float, then I pass left. So if I refresh that, you can see that everything else, they are coming right after the image, beside the image. Okay, so but I don't want all this Google to come. I don't want them to come. Where is the mistake? Okay, don't forget, change this to post footer. So okay, so let's just continue. So for the image, for the paragraph inside the blog, the post body, the paragraph inside the post body, I can go post body, then target the paragraph. I can save font size of 24 pixels. Let's see how big that will be. Oh my god, this is too big. Let's just say 16 rather. Okay, let's just go like that. Let's go like this. Let's go with this. So for the button now, you can see the button is supposed to come to this side. So if you notice, we haven't been using colors for the posts content. We are going to do that shortly. So for this, I don't want to stress myself. I can just pass in the center tag. There's a tag called center. It's going to center the button for us, but we actually need it to be at this side. So for the button, so we will not use the center like that. So post body, then the button, we can say margin left. So if I say margin left 300 pixels, let's see what will happen. So you can see that from ear to ear is 300 pixels. But what if we say 100%? Let's see what will happen. Okay, so we have it 100%. We don't want to say that also. Let's go auto. It is not working for this. Yeah, of course it won't work. Okay, so what else can we use? Okay, let's put this button inside the division. So for it not to be confusing, so the button is now inside a division. If I pass in class of button container, so I can go to my style and say post body, then grab the button container. So for this button container, I can just say display flex. You know, we have only one item inside the button container, so we are still going to say display flex. So display flex, okay, display flex. We are going to say justify content flex end. So this will send the button to the end of the flex like that. So we have the button by the right hand side. So we want all this to come down. So they should be like this. They should be like this. So I'm going to copy this, or let us go to the CSS and say post footer. Post footer. So we use float of left to the image, which is this one. You can now say clear left, so it's going to clear all the floating. So now we have this right here. So I can just make it display of flex and say something like justify content space between, and that's it for that. So let's go back. Okay, so I think the width is around 80%. It is not 100%. Then we have, let's say, width of 80%. Oh, I'm refreshing that again. Okay, so we have this now. Now let's make it look amazing. So for the paragraph, for this head, for all this text, we want to use their primary color. So if I right click on this and say inspect, so I can actually get the color that was used, which is D55. That is the color. So I can just say color for this is D55. So if I go back to the code and refresh, if I refresh that, you can see that we have the color. Okay, so sample post with link. Okay, so all this information too, I will pass the color to them. That is the post info. So you can locate your post info and say color, which is D55. So we have the same thing here. So let's go back to the posts. Let me close this. So the button too. So if I right click on the button and say inspect elements, so the color, it is not D55, it is actually F15123 because it's deep. So that is the button. I think we have the button somewhere, which is this button container. So I can just say post body, the button container, and the button under it. I can say color, then paste that color. I have to put ash. This is X color. So if I refresh that, you can see that we have this, but it actually has to be the background color. So if I refresh, now we have the color. Then okay, then I can put some padding, probably 10 pixels, 30 pixels, so the image can be spacing. Then I can say color of white now. So if I refresh that, so color of white, background of F15123, padding of 1030. So we have successfully transformed our image. So now for this one, now if I go back to the code, to the website, you can see that there's a small space between the image and the paragraph. So I can locate the paragraph, which is the post body paragraph. I can say margin left. I can make it 14 pixels or 15 pixels. So just, oh, I'm refreshing this again. So 15 pixels. F5 to refresh. Nothing is working. So let's change the margin to padding. The reason why that didn't work is because we are actually working with float. You know, this is a floating object, so that is why that didn't work. But for the floating object, if I go to post body, then the image, this image right here, this is it. I can say margin right to 10 pixels. So whatever that I want to come beside it will leave a 10 pixels margin before the appearance. So 10 pixels margin. So let's just make it 15. We wanted to go 15 before, so we have 15 now. So if I go back for the footer, we also have some spacing before the footer, which is around 20 pixels. So for the footer, you know, we have cleared the floats of the footer. So I can say margin top, say 15, 20 pixels. If I refresh that, I'm refreshing this again. If I refresh that, it's still not working. Okay, So the reason why that is happening is because we are around a floating object. So if I go back to the floated image and say margin bottom, if I say 20 pixels, so it's going to create margin below the image. If I refresh, you can see that we have the space there. Okay, so I think, so if I go back, so this have some space. Okay, yeah, I think that can be part of our side. That can be part of the aside. Okay, so far so good. This is the main, and this is the blog post that we're working on. If I come here and close this, so you can see that this is the blog post, this is the main, and this is the aside. So let us apply a small padding to the main. Where is it? What do we call that? This main tag. So we haven't done anything on the main yet, I guess. So okay, this is it. I'll just come to where I have my main. I'll say margin. I'll say padding of 10, let's say 15 pixels. So I am refreshing this again. So I'll come here. I'll say padding of 15 pixels. You can see that we have some spacing here now. So now let's assume we have our blog post. So I can click this to move to the next page. So I can click that to move to the next page. Okay, so let us assume that, let's copy the blog post. If you come here, this right here, if you unplug it, so I copy the blog post like that, I paste it. I just want us to have like 5 blog posts. Let me reduce that, like 5 blog posts. So we have 2 so far. This is 1. So the second one, let me close it here. Let me paste another one, so it can be looking like actual blog. So let me close that too. So I think I have like 4 so far. So let me come here, let me paste another one, so you can just go ahead and do that. So we don't want to open all this because you can see that this is 140 lines now, lines of code, 140. So I'll just come here, I'll refresh. Okay, so you can see that we have all the blog posts. Okay, so now if you check their own, after each post we are having like 30 to 40 pixels margin, 30 to 40 pixels. So I'm going to grab blog posts, a post. I'll say margin. So top and bottom, I'll pass 30 pixels. Or don't let me confuse anybody here. So just say margin top, then margin bottom, 30 pixels. So if I come back and refresh, now we have that. Okay, so it's been good so far. So let's quickly do a simple sidebar and a simple footer. So for the sidebar, I'm just gonna have a form that says search, so they can search from here. I'll just say form. So if you can remember, we've talked about form before. So inside form we can have some controls like inputs. So the type will be text. Then we can have button to submit the form. You know, when you fill a login form, probably you want to log into your Google account or your Facebook account, you want to have button, so you can click the button and submit the form that says search. So this is just going to say search. If I refresh that, now we have this. So this is not really making sense now. If I go up here, you can see that they style their own. So let's quickly style our own too. So for the aside form, the inputs and button, so let's grab the aside first. So if I press that, if I say aside, you know, aside is tag, not a class name. If it's class, I use full stop. So aside, I will say padding of probably 30 pixels. I'm refreshing this again. Padding of 30 pixels. Okay. I don't want to make it 30 pixels. Or if I'm going to go 30 pixels, I can just say box sizing, border box. So watch the result of this border box now before I explain. You can see that there's a bit space for the main area now. So this is like, whenever I add padding, it's not going to increase the width of the element if I am using border box, but without the border box, it's going to increase the width. You can see that. So if I pass in the border box again, it's going to maintain the width, which is the 300. It's going to maintain that. So let's just increase this to 40 pixels. Okay, so we have this now. Or probably, let's say padding top alone should be 40. Okay, so for the form, I just want to do the same thing I did here to the search button. So if I say aside, then the form under the aside and the button under the form, then I can just copy everything I am having here. This is the button for the post. Copy everything and just paste that. So refresh, you can see that we have this right here. Okay, so okay, so let's increase this one too, which is the inputs under the aside form. So aside, the form and the inputs, we want to say height of like 40 pixels. So if I refresh that is way too much. Let's make it 30. So if I refresh again, so this is 30. Now this is looking cool. So we are going to leave this right here and just move to the footer. So if you can do this, you can continue and just let me see. So you can send it to me at logiccamp@gmail.com. I'm going to put my email down in the description, so you can forward it to me through email. Let me examine it, and if you're having any problem, don't forget to comment below so I can attend to the problem. So let's move down to footer. We're not going to be helping them to do all this, of course it's helping them. So we're just going to grab this footer alone and say something like copyright 2021. I'm going to put my name here, then power by, I'm going to put my channel name here. So for the footer, so now we don't want to make mistake. You see that this is the header, this section, if I close it here, this is the section, and right after the section we are going to have the footer. Now if you can remember, the header, the area, the content area, and the footer. So for this footer, I said I am just going to have a paragraph that says copyright. So you want to have this copyright sign, which is C. So we use and copy, then semicolon. So to do the copyright sign, copyright 2021, then we say the funk. So I'm going to just put my name there as logic and power by. So I'm going to use this. So if you don't know how to get this sign, it is on my keyboard. It is the one next to the enter key. the one next to the enter key, you just have to hold Control and press the hash sign. Use the shift key and press the @ sign, so it's going to give you that sign. So we want to put powered by logic camp. Okay, so I am just going to put my email here, logic camp at gmail.com. Don't forget, in my email I don't have the A here, then I have L here instead, so I'm just going to put it in the description, so you can forward any complaint, you can forward it to me. So if I refresh this, okay, so you can see that we have that. Then for this step paragraph, you can pass in style like this and say text align of center. So if I do that, it's going to center it for me. So you can see that it's going to center that for me, but I don't want to do it this way. I just want to go to my style sheet, grab the footer, then the paragraph under the footer, and say text align center. So that will be all for this section. Thank you very much for joining us.